Hi, let's have a look at evaluating a questionnaire. The things to think about here and the questions you may well have is, how is an evaluation different from a review? And do I really need to do this? Do you really need to do this? Yes, you do. Because it's less expensive to review and evaluate the questionnaire than it is to have to discard all the data and start again. You may have done carefully constructed the survey and the evaluation really doesn't find any faults. I doubt that's true, but it's a bit like saying, well, I did all the right things and my program is now perfect and ready to run. Yeah, it might be. But personally, I really have somebody else test it and debug it for me first. So the first advice is, have the questionnaire reviewed by somebody else. This is good advice for anything. Whatever you do, have someone else review it. Pre-test a questionnaire. The larger and more complex the questionnaire, the more important is pre-testing. All right. Ignore that as your peril. The questionnaire, if the questionnaire is critical to the research, so is pre-testing. Easy. And try it with a small number of volunteers first, say 3 to 5 is sufficient for a PhD. The least you can do is have somebody just review it, the review of experts in the thing. What the review should do is evaluate each potential survey question with the usual criteria. Can the participants understand the question? Can they answer the question? And will they answer the question? They are the 3 basic questions that should be answered there in the review. The review, the evaluation, should go over and determine the appropriate question type. Whether an open question should be asked, which is useful when and the researcher doesn't know how the participant will answer, and when they don't want to unduly influence the answer. And there can be a follow-up to a previous question. Closed questions are useful when there's a limited range of answers and when more is known about the subject. So we're now dealing with a survey that is after confirmation rather than discovery. And there's likely to be a large number of responses. We want to direct attention to specific types of question or specific aspects of the question. So closed questions are pretty good in those circumstances. Now the question wording probably deserves more attention than anything else, because this is where we so frequently get it quite wrong. And aside from, it's easy to say this is the most important, except from, we'll deal with that. The question wording, we have the Brousseau criteria: brief, objective, relevant, specific. Brousseau: brief, relevant, specific, objective, unambiguous. Prioritize the potential questions, so balance the need for information with the cost of acquiring it. I mean, if you have 45 questions, can you bring that down to 30? Do you really need to answer 45 questions? Possibly you do. The biggest cost is failing to get the right information. So when you have the wrong question, the wrong answer, the question's right, but they give the wrong answer. So there's something wrong with the question. That's a very expensive sort of thing to do. There's the cost to the researcher, so there's the cost to develop the questionnaire, to test it all out, to administer the thing, and to deal with the analysis, the encoding, the analysis, and the interpretation. That's a cost, and you want that to be as little as possible. And the cost to participant, usually the time it takes, the effort to answer, and the potential refusal to answer. They might be embarrassed, and that could be a problem. So you've done this evaluation, and hopefully you've done this evaluation on a nearly final survey. And what you have to do is then to incorporate the revisions just the same as you incorporate the revisions for anything else. Go through it. Can the study participants answer the question? Understand the question? Can they answer it? Will they answer it? Is this question necessary? What will it add to my understanding? And the mode of the survey will affect this. So if you're doing a face-to-face survey or a telephone survey or an email survey or a letter survey, and that's the difficulties there. Review the structure. So we've gone through all the questions, now review the structure. The general guidelines are to make it easy to administer, to make it easy to read, to make sure the instructions are informative, that they have fully informed consent, leave enough space so they can answer the questions, and make it easy to transfer the answers for analysis, which is great. Avoid biasing the questions due to their order, and make sure you have the introduction. I mean, the survey is very necessary to have this introduction, because you really do have to persuade people that they should answer, and how they should answer, and their role in this research, what's going to happen to the data, are their answers going to be treated with respect? Are they going to be protected? You really ought to reassure them about that. You have the substantive questions, and you have the classification questions, classification or demographic questions. You have all those, so you've got to review all those. Summary, and I keep saying this, it's less expensive to check it all than it is to go and have to answer all the questions all over again. But I've been saying that right from the beginning, and people usually have to go through a survey and say, oh, no, pre-test your questionnaire, pilot study your questionnaire, and the least you could do is to have somebody else review it. Okay, that's the end of the construction survey questionnaires, and I hope you're now fully informed and fully capable of writing a brilliant survey, and I look forward to